Hey, I'm trying to teach my son the importance of savings. You already lost his money?
Oh, Mr. Marsh, don't worry. We can just transfer money from your account into a portfolio with your son, and it's gone! This line is for people who have money with the bank only. Please step aside.
When you think of who the main characters in South Park are, you'd most likely think of either Stan, Kyle, Cartman, or Kenny, or at least a couple years ago you would have. It seems like more and more Randy Marsh, Stan's father, and his antics are becoming the focal point of the show. Whether it's jumping around to various jobs, getting into fights at his son's baseball games, or even just hanging out with a towel, Randy lives life fast and typically on the edge, much to his wife Sharon's annoyance. But how much has his life choices actually affected his family? Well, let's get into it and find out just how much is Randy worth. And of course, consider this your official spoiler warning for the entirety of South Park, all the way up through this past season. And hey, while we're here, comment down below what you'd like to hear me talk about next. It definitely helps the algorithm not hate my channel. Before we get into the show, let's get kind of meta as we have once or twice before. South Park takes place in a floating timeline. We've talked about these a bunch, so I'll keep it short. Basically, it means that time doesn't really move forward in the show alongside the time that passes in reality, or that 1 year in real life does not equal 1 year in the show. The main kids of the show have been, well, kids for over 20 years at this point. We'll have everyone be their current age for the first season of the show and treat each season as taking place over 1 year for our purposes. Which brings us to our next point: how old is Randy? Well, because early in the show's run, and by early in the show's run I mean like the first 17 or so seasons, the show was purely episodic with a couple minor story arcs here and there, with little to no continuity between episodes. We hear two different accounts of Randy's age, and of course they're in the same season, Season 9. In one episode we see Randy and Sharon as adults at Woodstock, and in another we hear Randy state that he's actually 35 years old. If Randy and Sharon were 20 at the time of Woodstock, he would have been born in 1949 and would be 48 during the first season of the show, which doesn't really seem right. And with what we know of Randy's history, it doesn't quite work out with him being 35 either. So instead, we'll be kind of going somewhere in the middle and estimating that Randy is 40 at the beginning of the series, meaning he would have been born in 1957. We don't know a ton about Randy's early life, but we do know that in high school he was recruited into a boy band, the Ghetto Avenue Boys, and they became huge.
I dropped out of high school. See ya! I said goodbye to my girlfriend. See ya! And I left my family. See ya!
Though the band is disbanded when Randy is 19, and Randy loses just about everything. We'll estimate that upon his return to South Park, he would go to college and any leftover money that he would have would cover his tuition. We know that he needs at least a bachelor's degree for the job that he would have for the bulk of the show's run, working in the Geological Survey. Upon his graduation in 1980, he would begin working for the US Geological Survey. Today, the average salary for that job is $57,404. But this was 40 years ago, and salaries were definitely lower than they are now. So, after some adjustments, Randy would be making $14,540.43 a year. And of course, we'll be adjusting this number each and every year. Which brings us to how we're going to be doing our math. We're going to start with his base salary, add Sharon's salary on, more on that in a bit, do some tax math, take off minor expenses, and have Randy put away 20% of what's left into a bank account, earning 2% interest annually. We can comfortably say that Randy's putting away a solid amount of money each year because in the episode Margaritaville, we see him taking Stan to the bank to have him put his own money away, which is weirdly responsible for Randy. But anyways, let's back up to 1981, which is when we'll have Randy and Sharon marry. We find out in the South Park movie Bigger, Longer, and Uncut that Sharon works as a receptionist at Tom's Rhinoplasty. We'll be estimating Sharon at making around $28,000 per year, which, similar to Randy, will be adjusting back for each and every year. From here, we can jump ahead a couple years to 1984. This will be a pretty big year for the Marsh family. For starters, I'm having this be the year that Randy and Sharon would buy their home. The home has several bedrooms and bathrooms, as well as a garage that's sometimes attached, sometimes not attached. It really depends on the episode. A similar home in the area can go for around $300,000, but again, this was back in the 80s, and homes back then were much cheaper than they are now. In fact, homes cost around 38.91% of what they do today. This means that their home back in 1984 would have cost $116,729.99. We'll round that up to $117,000. We'll have them put down $22,000 or 18.8% for a 30-year loan, which means that the house will be paid off in 2014. They'll be paying out $736 each month or $8,832 per year. Also in 1984, Sharon and Randy would give birth to their first child, Shelley. We'll be taking out $5,000 each year for her and $5,000 again when Stan is born a few years later in 1987. So now we can jump ahead a solid amount of time all the way to 2009, which is when Randy loses all of his money due to the banks failing.
And the idiots couldn't see that by doing all this frivolous spending, they were mocking the economy. And they made the economy very angry. We're all feeling the economy's vengeance because of materialistic heathens who did stupid things with their money. Do you understand, son?
Yeah, I think I get it.
So from this point on, we'll have Randy and Sharon basically starting over again at zero. But one other important thing happens this episode. Kyle takes on all of Randy's debt. So Randy's house, cars, and any other debt they would be in are completely paid off. Well, not paid off, but Randy is essentially completely out of debt. This is also getting to the point where Randy becomes more of a main character throughout the show, and his antics and different jobs are the focal point of many episodes. We'll try and go through as many as we can. In 2011, Randy begins writing a Broadway musical with the help of several other Broadway bros. Though it is unknown if the musical is ever finished, we never hear of it again. So we can assume that it was never officially released or finished, and thus Randy wouldn't be making any money off of it. In 2011, Randy buys a Blockbuster for $10,000. The store doesn't make any money and is eventually burned down. Randy probably doesn't have any insurance on this building, so it would be a total loss of money. As a result, we'll take away $10,000 from the money Randy saved up. Still in 2012, Randy inadvertently starts a new sport, Sarcastaball, that replaces football across the country, and Randy ends up getting hired as the Denver Broncos head coach after the NFL is replaced. The Broncos head coach makes $5 million a year, but Randy is really only the coach for about 2 weeks. We'll give him what he would have made in that short amount of time, which is still a staggering $192,307.69. In 2013, Randy gets a holiday job working as mall security. Initially, he only wants to use his position to be the first person in line for Black Friday deals, though he eventually takes the job much more seriously. In 2013, Colorado minimum wage was $7.78. If Randy were working here for 30 hours a week for 3 weeks, he would come away with $350.10. 2014 would be a major year in Randy's life. This is the first time we see him as Lorde.
You said you knew a guy at work who was Lorde's uncle.
Yeah, that's my cover.
The chick that wrote the theme song to the new Hunger Games movie is you?
Yeah, the record company messed it all up. It was supposed to go, Hunger Games, yeah, 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 Hunger Games.
After doing a bunch of research into what Lorde is worth, an approximation of what she's making a year, I decided to combine a bunch of these results and round it out to around $2 million a year. Which, weirdly, doesn't seem to change how the Marshes are living at all. To me, that seems to mean that Randy's putting away the vast majority of what he's making. So we'll up the amount that he and Sharon are saving each year to 95%. In 2018, following the legalization of marijuana in Colorado, Randy buys a plot of land that would become Tegridy Farms.
Sorry, tours are at 11 and 2 and 420.
Oh, we're not here for a tour. We represent $1 billion marijuana company.
Oh, I told you rich city folk before. You can't buy Tegridy.
While we don't have specifics on how much Randy and Sharon are making from the farm, we do get some kind of hint the following season. We find out in 2019 that Randy had made $300,000 total from running the farm. So from that, we can estimate that Randy is making around $150,000 per year from his farm. But how much did his farm cost? A relatively similar property can cost around $1.95 million, which Randy can actually afford and will have him pay for outright. He also put their home up for sale. They would be able to get $291,240 for it, which will round down to $290,000. And this is where we can end our math at the current season of the show. By this point, Randy has $7,540,514.43. His farm is worth $1.95 million. So that means that Randy Marsh is worth $9,490,514.43, which is honestly much better than I would have thought, but that won't stop Sharon, Shelley, and Stan from constantly being annoyed by all his antics. But anyways, this has been 10K Bill, and thanks for watching. Comment down below what you'd like to hear me talk about next. Follow me on Twitter at 10kbill to yell me about anything I may have missed. Support us on our Patreon if you like the show and want to see more content like it. And of course, make sure you subscribe for all your entertainment-related content.